right, guys, welcome. This is the John Hollywood Show, and if this is your first time joining me, welcome. If you're coming back for another episode, welcome back. Today's guest is Kyree Oliver. So I've read a lot of shit about this guy, and I've seen a lot of the things that he's been able to achieve, and I'm super excited to dive into the mind of Kyree Oliver, and you guys are going to want to tune in on this shit because take notes. This guy has a mastermind, and he's reached that peak, and he is hungry to take over more. Without further ado, Kyree Oliver.
How's it going, man? Thank you for having me on.
Hell yeah, it's fucking exciting.
I appreciate it. Again, Kyree Oliver. I'm 26, from Northern California, living in Arizona. I own a digital marketing and consulting agency. We've done just over $50 million for my clients. Just hit that last week, actually.
Congratulations.
I've interviewed, thank you, man. I've interviewed over 900 people. I'm obsessed with human behavior. I'm obsessed with why we do the things we do. I'm a former Division I football player. I'm a regular guy. I've just accomplished a whole lot of cool stuff, and feel like I've got some decent perspectives on different things.
I love the way that you said that, though. Like, you're a regular guy and you've accomplished a lot of things. I mean, to get to that point where you're so humble, and then the achievements, one by one by one. One of the big things that really got me onto you was I saw a post from you recently, and you were talking about toxic masculinity. Can you kind of dive more into that? Because I know there's a lot of people that follow this show that really don't understand the real masculinity and the definition of masculinity.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a hot topic right now. Masculinity and toxic masculinity is something everybody's talking about right now. It's a very talked about subject right now, and I've realized something, and I want to be very clear on it when I talk about it. I don't think that genuine masculinity is able to be toxic, because I think about what masculinity is to me, and it's not the rah-rah masculine, hide your emotions, don't talk about anything soft, or don't hug puppies or anything like that. It's masculinity to me is something where you kind of match the head and the heart together. You have an equilibrium between your head and your heart. You're not all headstrong. You're not all in your feelings all day either. But you have them both working together in teamwork to create you as the person you want to be. Mm. And so I match it around three pillars of having a soft heart, which is your empathy, thick skin, which is emotional intelligence, and a hard head, which is your grit, determination, stick-to-itiveness, your unfuckwithable qualities. So if we are able to create those to equilibrium, I think that's our best stance to put our best foot forward as men in the world.
I love that. I definitely love the three steps, because I mean, if a lot of people overcomplicate things, and if you're putting it into three steps that are really easy to dive in and educate yourself more on, like it's going to help you succeed and really tap into the whole masculinity thing. So yeah. What path did it take for you to really get there, to really understand that? Because I know, like, you didn't come out of your mom's womb like, you know what? I got these three steps and these shit are gold. I'm going to sell it later. Like this, I know you didn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, a big thing of it was lack. I didn't have it modeled for me growing up. I didn't have the father figure in the house to show me, here's what it looks like to be a man in all these different scenarios. I mean, in a lot of ways, I had the exact opposite. I had him showing me, he wasn't in the house, but whenever we'd see him, I'd see him bouncing from job to job. I'd see him bouncing from a house to an apartment, to his friend's couch, to a car, back to a hotel, to a motel, back to some apartment. Like, yeah. I just saw a lot of instability, and to me, masculinity is inherently stable.
Yeah.
It's inherently, it's continually striving for stability. And so to me, it was just, I saw the opposite model for me, and I knew how much hardship I had growing up as a kid, like not knowing what that's supposed to look like. Mm-hmm. And so I think as I grew older, when I started wanting to have kids myself, I don't have kids yet, but I started to realize I can't show my kids that same thing.
Yeah.
And that's what most generations do. Most generations just continue the pattern that was set before them. I can't do that because it's a disservice to them. So I now need to go consciously create myself as the man that my kids are going to want to look up to. And so at 19 years old, I just started out on that path with that's just the objective. I don't know what's going to cost.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to take, but I need to be the guy that when my kids are older, they're able to say, man, my dad really showed me a lot.
So I have a similar story growing up, and it was my mom actually had to run away from my dad, and my dad was abusive. I don't know if he still is now. I don't, my sperm donor, so to speak, was, abusive towards my brothers and my mom and me.
Yeah.
And like, I was so young that it got to the point where my mom left in a U-Haul with 3 boys from Illinois to go sleep on her friend's floor in California. So it's like, this guy that was supposed to be that fucking image for me to really live up to was the exact opposite of that. And now that I live in a life where a lot of people that I work with came from broken homes, and they use that as that excuse to like, I grew up in a broken home, and the only image I know is the one that was in front of me or on the TV. And they made the decision off the shit that they were handed to continue on with that. But it's like this situation right here, there's two men that are perfectly able to turn the situation that they grew up in into something that was positive and could seriously change the world. And like that should be more popular than any fucking movie on any network anywhere. Like seriously, people pay attention to bullshit instead of listening to the things that they should be hearing, even if it hurts to hear it. Like,
well, it's that dogfight that goes on in your head. I'm sure you've had it before.
All the time.
I've had it before, where you're able to have that. It's like that higher self, that lower self.
Yeah.
That lower self is, I have an excuse. If I was to go fuck up in life, well, it's because my dad fucked up. So because my dad fucked up, I fucked up too, because that's all I saw. Or I can say, I watched my dad fuck up so much that fucking up isn't an option for me. I'm just not going to let it be a possibility. And some of us chose that road. It's a lot more difficult. It takes a lot more time. It takes a lot more effort. It takes a lot more responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But that road, I think, is the cleaner road to go down.
And to elaborate a little bit more on that, like, so there are the 2 paths, and there's the 2 ways of thinking about something too, where like, if I'm super negative about, man, I fucked up, like the world's against me, or I fucked up, man, how can I learn from that? Because I know somebody that has made so much money in marketing has to have seen so many failures to really be like, hey, this is not going to help me to do this shit again. And I have to capitalize on this because I've already lost some money. I don't want to lose more, but it's okay if I fail again.
Yeah, it's repetitions, and it goes from, there's 3 different levels of being, as far as like understanding how the world works. There's knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Knowledge is you keep making your own mistakes, and you're not really learning much from them, but you know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding is using your own mistakes as leverage points to move forward. I made the mistake. I'm not going to make that mistake again. Let me now continue on smarter and better. Wisdom is now I'm able to say, let me see who came before me. Let me see what mistakes they've made, and let me not even make the mistake in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know, okay, these 3 people have made the same mistake. They've had the same consequence. If I make that mistake, the same thing's going to happen. Let me just avoid that mistake. Let me just do everything I can to circumnavigate that mistake. Not like I'm not going to make any mistakes at all, but you can look at the big ones and say, fuck no, I'm staying away from that. And that's really helped me a lot in the marketing space. I was 19 when I started. I just looked at older people and said, what do they do wrong? And I continually figure out, what are they doing wrong, and how do I do that right?
That's super early, especially to be in a marketing for one. And it's, you're dealing with other people's money, and people have a hard time giving away money, especially to a kid. Like to a kid that's 19, and it's like, you know what? You are going to look at other people's mistakes and analyze the ways that they did it, and maybe pivot away or into to really capitalize on that mistake. So at 19, what got you there? Like how did you get so incredibly smart or educated by 19? Was it the school you were in? Was it the area you're in? Maybe sports? How did you get there?
No, I would say none of the above, first of all.
Yeah.
I just knew I wanted something different than most people. And not to say that what most people do is anything bad, because I think that whatever you choose to do, if it's right for you, then it's right. But for me, I've just always had that thing right here in the middle of my chest
Yeah.
since I was like in kindergarten, that I'm just supposed to do something extraordinary, or
Yeah.
a few things extraordinary at least. And I knew I was going to have to go a hard route to do it. And so I've never been afraid of the extra work. I haven't been afraid of working the 18-hour days, the 20-hour days sometimes, investing everything I have into what I'm doing, and literally not being able to be distracted by anything else. I've just been there, and I'm willing to go there more than other people. And so I think because of that, I've been able to learn at more of an accelerated rate than other people. I take the same amount of risk and work and dedication in 3 months than somebody else is going to take in 3 years.
I hear
And
it.
so it just
Yeah.
accelerates my process. It doesn't mean that I'm going through less. It doesn't mean that it's easier for me. It means I'm condensing my struggle into this smaller portion of time so that I can learn faster and easier, so that it doesn't take me 10 years to become a successful entrepreneur. Instead, let me do it in 3 years.
So with your marketing company, since you do run a company as a leader, what would you say would be the most important things to be as a leader?
Yeah. What's funny is my marketing company is not a good representation of that, because I fired everybody 2 years ago. I used to have a team of 6,
Yeah.
and I fired everybody. Nobody was carrying their weight, and I was just like, I'm just gonna do this on my own. It was just a
Yo,
better
that's a
business.
harsh reality. That is a harsh reality to do as a person, to really, hey guys, I'm gonna do this shit alone. That is a harsh fucking thing.
Yeah.
To do.
I realized, again, it goes back to the same thing. My expectations are too high, that other people can't live up to them, and the people who do live up to them are going to start their own business. And so I started realizing, if I'm hiring employees, they're going to have the mindset of an employee, and that's not what I expect. Even though I was paying them better than an employee, I expected better and I expected more, and I realized it was unfair of me to do to people who were just looking for kind of an hourly job. So for me, I wanted to go above and beyond. I need to do it alone in this capacity. Now, where leadership comes in is, I have students that I work with for my marketing. I have students that I work with for my life coaching, men's coaching, masculinity coaching, whatever you want to call it. I've got people who look up to me in life. I have people who reach out to me for help with entrepreneurship. So leadership comes really from my normal life, not necessarily from my business.
Okay, that's yeah. So going back to it, like, what are the keys for a strong leader for you? Like, in order for you to feel fulfilled leading or educating, what are the best things that you really look for in yourself as a leader?
I have to go back to my 3 pillars.
Yeah.
I have to have a soft heart. I got to have empathy for where you're at.
Yeah.
I can't expect you to be where I'm at, because you haven't had the time, effort, energy, or lessons to be there.
Yeah.
I have to have thick skin, because people are going to let you down. People are going to burn you. People are going to not be what you expected them to be. And you have to be okay with that and still be able to move forward. So the thick skin's a big piece of it too. You get criticism. I get it all the time. How can you tell people how to live their lives at the age of 26?
Mm-hmm.
How could you possibly? Why would you ever do that? And all I can show them is, here's how I've improved people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how I've helped people become better people. Here's how I don't have kids, but I've helped men become better dads. I'm not married, but I've helped men become better husbands. That's all I have to lean on, is I've done it so many times over and over again that my age almost becomes not a factor. So the thick skin's a big piece, because you are going to get ridiculed for what you do if you want to do anything outside of the box.
For sure.
And then the hard-headedness, the grit, the determination, it's just, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to help men be better men. I'm supposed to help people be better people. I don't know how to be anything else than a leader in that way. I'm just supposed to do it. So I can still take it back to those 3 pillars. And I think people need to adopt those 3 pillars in your own way that fits your unique lifestyle.
Yeah.
But as long as you're carrying with you a soft heart, thick skin, and a hard head, you're going to put your best foot forward.
I mean, when you say a hard head, people could take that 1,000 different ways. And
yeah.
I work with a lot of people that have a hard fucking head, but that's because it's impossible to talk to them and really get things through their head. But I think when you're saying hard head, you're more or less talking about being able to work with a ton of things and with grit and with determination, more on that aspect of being like, hey, you've run into the same bullshit over and over and over and over, and you're still not listening to what you're saying. Like,
That's why I say they all have to work together. You
yeah,
can't just have one of these elements by itself, because
yeah,
you're not going to be the right type of person. You can't just have empathy, because then you're just a softy butterball that's not going to really get much done, because you're going to be thinking about other people's feelings all day long.
yeah,
You also can't just have emotional intelligence, because there's no action behind it.
yeah,
I can understand how I feel all day long. I can understand how to process emotion, but unless there's action behind it, I'm not going anywhere.
yeah,
And so the same thing with hard-headedness. If I can have a hard head, I can have grit, I can grind through life, but that's how guys have heart attacks at 50. That's how guys, can't get past their own egos, because there's too much in that hard head. So all three of these have to work together, or else you're not what I would consider the completed type of man.
yeah. Do you feel like you still run into it on a regular basis where people judge your size before they see like the type of person you are before talking to you?
Yeah, and I'll run into that forever.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. Believe me, I get that shit too, especially at work. And it's like, and
Yeah.
then they hear the voice and like, oh my God, like, so giving the fact that you say you do have a thick skin, do you mind sharing one of the experiences that you've went to that really pushed you into that direction of maximizing, developing that pillar?
Yeah. I mean, I've grown up not really fitting into very many boxes, as
Yeah.
far as like I was a poor brown kid raised by a single white mom in a poor white neighborhood. So I didn't fit. I didn't look like the white kids, but I didn't act like the black kids at my school. Again, single parent household. I was an athlete, but I wasn't a partier. Like, I've always kind of been in between groups, to
Yeah.
where I've had to develop my own identity very early. Because a lot of times, I mean, whether it's politically, by skin color, by religion, um, by hobbies, people like to lump ourselves into groups and say, I'm just going to act the way this group acts. That's how we get groupthink. That's how we get politics the way they are today. That's how we get people to be the way they are. And I don't think it's a good thing,
It's a herd
because
mentality.
100%.
Yeah.
And I've never even had the ability to do that. So what looked like a hindrance to me, whereas a little kid, I can't, okay, I'm just going to go hang out with this group because I identify with them.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to do that as a kid. Now as an adult, I have no want to do that, because I've already been an individual for so long. And so the thick skin comes from, I don't fit into a group. Therefore, I can't just lean on the group for support. I can't lean on the group for, I don't know who I am right now, because life gets tough and you start to question, who the fuck am I right now? And usually you have a group to lean on and say, okay, I'm just going to mold my identity around the group. I never had that. So at that point, you're kind of stuck in the middle of the desert. I live in Arizona. You're stuck kind of in the middle of a figurative desert
literally, literally in the
where
middle
you
of the desert.
out. Yeah. It's that place. It's like, comfort lies at the two poles. It's either the North Pole, the South Pole of whatever you're in.
Yeah.
There's two poles that pull people towards them. But to stand in the middle and say, I'm a fucking individual and I'm going to be a strong individual, that's a hard place to be. But that's where the strength comes from. That's where the leadership comes from, is the ability to stand there and say, I'm cool being here. I don't need to be pulled either way.
Oh my gosh. So not everybody wants to be there. Not everybody wants to be alone. Not every, like, introverted people clearly want to be introverted. Extroverted people want to be extroverted. But there's those few people that are more comfortable being introverted most of the time, and then they have to have that extroverted side. And
Yep.
it's like you finding that comfortableness or that place and really staying there and finding the strength and pushing forward to stay there. As I've definitely developed that over the last few years, where I was like, man, the opinion that fucking person has of me really does not benefit me ever at
Yep.
all. And it's like, I'm making myself happy. I'm doing things that are making myself happy and showing people that me being me by myself doesn't fucking matter what I'm doing, when, where, and why. But I'm being happy being me and showing other people to do the same thing. It's like, take a step back and stop worrying what fucking Karen's doing. Stop worrying what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, if I'm not having sex with you and you're not paying my bills, I have to take your stuff with a grain of salt. For real. I've got to take your opinion with a grain of salt because you have no stock in what happens to me. You can give me all the advice in the world, but unless my outcome affects your outcome, you don't know how serious it is. You don't have the right mindset around it. And so usually what I tell people, like when you get criticism or even when you get constructive criticism, ask yourself, what intention does the person have towards you? Do they have stock in you going one way or the other? Does it benefit them if you go one way or the other? How much do they care about you? And then how much do they know about the area that they're talking about? My mom has all the good intentions for me in the world, but I'm not taking business advice from her.
So like, do you still run into that with your family? Do you run into that with your family? So you still take
for the first probably 3 years I did. Once my family realized I'd made more money than all of them, they stopped giving me advice. Like maybe you should go get a job kind of advice. They don't give me business advice anymore. But it took that 3 years.
Yeah.
Where half my family, even like 2 years ago, still thought I was sleeping on a friend's couch or something. I mean, I had my 3,500 square foot house, big old house in Scottsdale. Like I did the thing that you're supposed to do in Arizona, move up to Scottsdale, get a big old house, and you made it. And I realized it was complete garbage. But I realized my family had no idea that I was actually pretty successful. And since they realized that, they've stopped doing maybe you should go be a police officer. Maybe you should go be a firefighter like your brother. Like, maybe you should go do this or that. They've just realized, like, okay, maybe he's figured some shit out that we haven't.
Yo, you don't want to do any of those things. I promise. Don't get me wrong. I fucking love my job. But if you are in a comfortable place and you are passionate about what you do and you're continuing to do it and finding happiness in doing it and seeing the growth all the time, why the fuck would you change? Ever. Like, no matter what the opinion is. And so many people get caught up in like, hey, my aunt said like I should go do this, or they're telling me I should go do that. But you're in a good spot. It doesn't matter if you're fucking eating dog food. Like, as long as you're living and you're drinking water, if you're happy doing it, like, stay the course.
And they don't have your vision. They don't have your vision. And for the first while, they're going to be right. They're going to be right. You'd make more money doing this. You're for sure correct. For the first 2 years of my business, they were right with everything they said. But my thing is, if I really have a vision for this, if I really see myself doing well, I owe it to myself to try.
Yeah.
And if I was wrong, I would have been able to say, okay, hey, I'm wrong. I need to go get a regular job. But I was able to push through, and it's not for everybody. Entrepreneurship, business building, this is not for everybody. That's why I say I don't mind a 9-to-5 job. There's a lot of entrepreneurs who try to do the whole 9-to-5 job of selling yourself short. I think it's a load of shit. Because I watch my brother love what he does. I watch my uncles love what they do. Like, I watch people around me who work 9-to-5 jobs and love what they're doing. I can't tell them they're wrong for that. But in the same vein, you can't tell me I'm wrong for wanting to do something different.
No. And like where I'm at now, I have a 9-to-5 or a 6 to 6. And I just got done working an 80-hour week, and I'm doing this because I'm passionate about it. There's no level of being tired where I will sit there and be like, if I could get an interview and sit down with somebody, especially somebody that's so successful as you and that has the fucking strong mind that people need to hear, people need to hear this. Like, this is better than medicine. This is better than Tylenol for most people. Because if you stop stressing about the bullshit, that meant like all the pain up here is going to go away because you're going to start focusing on the things that aren't going to hurt your fucking brain all the time.
Yeah. I tell people, and I was actually just telling my student the other day, and I wrote a post about it too. Be so, like, the best men I know are so obsessed with the macro, get rid of big shit, like get big problems handled. One of the things that I found only in the last probably 6 months, what a blessing it is to have a beautiful, amazing woman with you that will handle the micro for you. She'll worry about the small stuff so that I can go out and tackle the big bad monsters that are out there. And I've realized how much that's cleaned up my life, how much it's cleaned up so many different things that I didn't even realize were like cluttered over here or that I've pushed off into the corner, literally and figuratively, until she was able to come in and point out and show me, hey, I've got a lot of these small things handled for you throughout the day so that you can go put your best foot forward in your business, in your mentorship, in your life coaching. It's been the most incredible thing in the world.
So before she came into the picture, what did you see like you were doing? You were still successful with doing it, but it became when you found a superwoman, because not everybody's going to be in that position. Not everybody's going to find that superwoman, and they're going to have to juggle that shit. Like, what did you do to stay focused, to like keep pushing forward onto what you needed to do? I know it's going to fall back to the 3 pillars, but like it's got to be more in depth than that.
Yeah. I mean, the micro stuff, I ignored it.
Yeah.
Like my house wasn't clean. I didn't realize how muddled down my ability to produce and my ability to be efficient throughout my day was, until it was shown to me, like cleaning up the rest of life helps you in business, and it helps you when you're doing meetings. It helps you be in a better environment for yourself. So really before then, I just ignored it and convinced myself it wasn't important. Now, I also was able to pay for it. I was able to pay for a house cleaner. I'm able to, pay for a meal prep service so I don't have to deal with that. Like little things I can pay away, but it's so much easier when you're now in a partnership with somebody where it's, hey, I've got the bills handled, but you've got, cooking, cleaning, and things like this handled. And we're also able to come together and tackle so many of the obstacles and things like that together as well.
So to go a little bit deeper into that, what you're really talking about is like, it's important to make your bed. It's important to have a clean space, because if you're around clutter, you're going to be like, well, I got a bunch of shit up here too, because mentally and physically it's cluttered. And a lot of people are like, when you go into a classroom full of people, because I've asked this question before, when you go into a classroom full of people, how many people went into class and made their bed today? And you'll see like 2 or 3 people that have made their bed, and it's 30 people in there. 27 people didn't make their fucking bed, and they're miserable for being in that class right now too. But those 3 people are probably going to take away some stuff out of that class. So the importance of the smallest victory with making your bed is as small as it is, it's a big deal to get through a day. And I mean, you're talking about making a ton of money, and you're doing those small things, and the proof is in the pudding. The clean area, clean head, you're going to be able to focus on the things that really matter. So it's
and it's not that you can't do without it. It's just that it makes everything easier and more efficient. It's not that you can't. I lived a long time like single guy in my apartment, and I didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. It just makes it so much easier. It also makes you appreciative for that other person. Like, well, I mean, maybe a few weeks after my girlfriend moved down here, was down here visiting, we kind of had like I could just tell that she was a little bit off. And I asked her why. And she explained, she's like, I don't like when some things are left around the house. I don't like when this happens or this happens. And we had to have a conversation about it where I said, hey, look, what you don't realize, and what I hope you realize, is you don't have to know when rent's due. You don't have to know when the electricity's due. You don't have to ever fill up your car or my car with gas. There's so many things that are now taken off your plate completely that you may not have recognized, that may not come into your head when I leave something laying around the house. And when I leave it laying around the house, your thought is, why don't you just fucking pick it up? My thought is, I was on the way to the next meeting. I didn't have time, or I didn't have the thought to put it in the right place. I'm needing to go to this next meeting to make money, to pay rent, to do all this stuff. And I realized the switch happened in her head, where she started to realize how much this is a give and take. How much this is and it's not an excuse for me to be a sloppy person. And that's never been the case at all. But it's just, when you start to build maybe a little bit of that, oh, I wish they would do this. It's not that you're wrong for feeling that. It also needs to be countered with, well, what other things are they doing that I may not be recognizing or acknowledging? Because there's also so many things
on both ends.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's why it's been a big thing for me. Like, I acknowledge the tiniest thing she does, when she does laundry, when she picks up for something randomly, when she makes a random trip to the grocery store because we just got back from California, didn't have food for breakfast.
Yeah.
And during my first morning meeting, she goes out to the grocery store, doesn't even tell me, and gets the stuff that we need. That's the small things that you need that you don't realize you need until you have them.
And a lot of people don't realize or communicate that. And it takes a lot for somebody to really be like, babe, I'm off. Or fuck, she's off. We need to talk about this, because it could have imploded. Like something so small, so minuscule, if it's not communicated, especially in a relationship. I fucking learned this once from my first marriage. It blows up and it doesn't get better because it just like, well, you did this and you did that. It's like communication is fucking huge. And
I've gotten to it's a funny joke now when she asked me to do something and it's just like, hey, at some point today, can you do this? I know I'm like, if I don't do this now when I have time, it's going to become one of those resented things later. So why don't I just go do it real quick and then it's over and then it's done. And she'll tell me, no, I really mean do it later. And I'll have to stop her and say, hey, look, you don't mean that. Because if I do it later, or if I forget, if I do it later, it means I'm not going to do it because I'm going to forget about it.
Yeah.
If I've forgotten about it and you see it still laying there, or you see this thing still undone, you're now going to build up that little piece of resentment. Even though you think you're fine right now, you get a few of those chips away, and we're going to get into a full-blown argument over a few little things that happen. Mm-hmm. So why don't we manage them while they're little so that they don't fester and grow into this big thing?
Yes.
That's a humongous piece.
Yes. Oh my God, I couldn't agree more. And I'm fucking proof of it too. It's like when she brings something up to me and I'm like, I'll get to it in a second. I just got home. I'm like, you know what? I may have just got home, but I could just fucking knock it out real quick because I'm going to forget. Yep. I got other stuff I got to do, like all the hours, and then I got to do other stuff and this and that. It's like, John, take a step back, knock this out real quick. She's the queen bee. Like, treat her like a fucking queen. And when you said something during the masculinity quote that it's okay, or it's better for a man to uplift and treat their woman as a queen and really put them up on a pedestal, and it doesn't hurt you to really step back and push your partner up more than you push yourself up. Can you dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah. I mean, the better position they're in, the better they're able to take care of those things that you don't have time for, that you don't want to, that insert whatever need there is, that they're able to handle for you. They don't feel that when they don't feel appreciated. They don't do that when they don't feel understood emotionally, physically, mentally. Like, women are complex creatures, way more complex than we are.
Yes.
And like it may sound vulgar. If I'm having enough sex and I've got enough food, I'm probably good. Like, I don't have any complaints after that. Women are way more complex. You have to feed them emotionally. You have to feed them mentally. You have to be able to show up for them in so many different areas. But once you do, you start realizing the type of person you have with you. Holy shit, everything shifts. Everything changes. Everything gets better, because when they feel loved, adored, and appreciated, they are willing to go so much further out for you.
Yeah. And it's like, if there's anything that you could really take more from that comment, is listen the fuck up, because you have to listen to your woman and you have to be there emotionally for them. Because if you're not, then
just lifting your woman up and allowing her to feel appreciated, or making her feel appreciated. When she feels appreciated in all these different areas, she's able to show up as like the powerful, incredible woman that you need in order to do the things you do for her. It's so much of a teamwork thing that I think most people don't have that dynamic. Most people don't have that piece because you're worried about, what am I getting?
Yeah.
What I've realized is that when her cup's full, when I make sure her cup's full, my cup happens to just be full as a result of hers. And I've realized that, I mean, in the bedroom, I've realized that going out on dates, I've realized that doing favors for each other. When you make sure her cup is full, you don't even have to worry about your cup, because she'll make sure it's there.
Yeah. That is a fucking powerful statement, and really making sure that you're giving her the water first and you don't have to worry about yours afterwards. So that's fucking incredible. What's one of the biggest things that I know as a man, vulnerability is an issue. So is there things that you see yourself needing to be more vulnerable with your spouse?
No, but for a long time, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
It's something I've worked through for a long time. I've had years doing it. So I'd say at this point, not really. Um, but I know how hard it is as well. I know the path that I take to get to being that vulnerable. And what happens is men are afraid of being vulnerable because you're afraid of your power being taken away.
Mm-hmm.
And what I ask people all the time, like I was on, I forget whose podcast it was, but I was on a friend's podcast and I started crying. And she asked, she's like, how are you able to just like be shedding tears while you're talking through this, like this difficult piece of your story, but still be able to deliver it powerfully and not be embarrassed? And I said, as long as my crying doesn't make you feel like you can get one over on me, as long as my showing emotion doesn't make you view me as weaker, as far as like, do you think you're gonna fare better in a fight with me because I'm a bit able to cry, or do you think you're able to steal from me because I'm capable of emotion?
Yeah.
As long as that's not the vibe I'm putting off, I'm okay with it.
You
But
know, I
there's
don't
that other
think
side.
anybody's gonna look at you and be like, I'm gonna fucking fight this dude and get away with
But
it.
that's the feel that you have to have, because I've
Yeah.
seen the guys who do over the top with their emotion,
Yeah.
and the feeling you do get is like, if I was to whistle at this guy, he'd tip over emotionally. Like the guy who can't handle his emotions and the guy who's in touch with his emotions are two very separate creatures.
Yeah.
You need to be the latter. You need to be the guy who's in touch with his emotions. This is where the emotional intelligence comes in, though. I need to know how my emotions are serving me right now. It's okay to cry in front of my woman because I know she's not going to go out and think that I'm a pussy because of it.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to exhibit emotion when it makes sense, when it's relevant, and when it's meaningful. Not when I stub my toe. Not when my car breaks down on the side of the road. I don't know what to do. Like, you have to have a time and place for your emotion, but it still needs to be there also in order for people to feel like they can connect with you.
Yeah. So have you run into that with another woman where you showed that emotional intelligence and they were like, I don't know about this guy?
I'd say it's been the opposite. So it's been like my unwillingness to show emotion because I don't feel completely trusting the person or supported.
Yeah.
Because when you don't feel supported, you don't feel comfortable showing the emotion.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what you're going to do with it. I don't know what you're going to think you're able to do with my emotion or be able to manipulate or do something in that realm. But if I feel comfortable with you, I'm wide open. I'm here. This is it. This is how I feel.
No, I fucking love that. So, would there any last things that you would like to really use? Because I want this to be your microphone. And you said so many things so far that can really genuinely, one, help me and help the people that are actively following in the community. Like,
Yeah.
anything that you would emphasize the most on your day-to-day life, or something that really has helped you that you would preach to other people or encourage for them to incorporate, to really, give them that little bit of a step forward to help them out?
Yeah. I'd say focus on building a life financially, emotionally, mentally, physically that serves the people who look up to you, that serves the people who need something from you. I know it's easy to get kind of caught up in the day-to-day everything,
Mm-hmm.
but take the time sometimes to stop and remind yourself who you're doing this thing for. And I swear to you, it will energize whatever you're in, whether it's a business, you're starting a side hustle, you're doing a venture with somebody, you're working your 9-to-5 job. The amount of energy you get from I'm serving this purpose that goes past myself, it'll skyrocket you past what you think you're capable of. Financially, emotionally, physically, whatever. It gets hard in the gym. Who are you doing this for? It gets hard at work. Who are you doing this for?
Yeah.
It gets hard emotionally. Somebody dies. Something crazy happens. My parents were both in the hospital last year. They get hit by a semi-truck. What do I need to be for these people who need me right now? It got me out of my own emotion. It got me out of my own, well, my parents are in this and here's how I feel. It got me into what do these people need from me? And I can go handle my emotions when I get back to the hotel room later. I can handle myself after I've served the people who need something from me. When you're able to focus on that, you're able to push through more than you'd ever thought.
So fucking selfless and really focusing on the why. Why am I here? Why am I doing this shit? So I fucking love that. Hey, Kyree, thank you again for coming on with me. It was, hey, if you guys couldn't tell, I just met him today. So this dude's a fucking machine. But thank you so much for being on with me. And I know the community's going to fucking love this. And I hope you enjoy your new bike. And I'm happy you got home safe. I was a little nervous that you were driving home and on the call. But, I mean,
I appreciate it.
Appreciate you so much and taking the time out of your day for me.
Thank you, man. We'll definitely stay in touch.
Hell yeah. You have a great night.
Awesome, brother. You too.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the John Oliver Show. Please like, follow, share, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you thought, and I will see you guys next time.